Welcome to Business Hub. My name's David Taylor. Today I'm taking you through approval processes in MYOB Advanced. Within MYOB Advanced, on virtually every document, you can assign what we call an approval map. The approval map linked to the document dictates the behaviour of the approval process based on the contents of the document. In this situation, the workflow that we're trying to emulate is a quote requiring approval to go out to a customer. So what I've got on the screen here is I've got a quote to a customer. I can see that it's a quote by the order type being a QT, and the document by default is currently on hold. The customer has been selected and the detail of the document has been populated. Note that the screen is customizable, columns can be removed, and the ordering of the columns can be changed. Within the document details, we can also see the approval tab. The approval tab will ultimately show us where the document's gone, who's approved it, and the time and date of that approval. So let's take the document off hold. When we take the document off hold, what we'll see happen is the document has changed to a pending approval status. This pending approval status has sent an email, in this situation, to the manager work group. Note in this situation, the assignee ID, the assigned to, is blank, and the reason for that is I haven't sent it to an individual person. I've sent it to a work group. I'll demonstrate how that work group process works shortly. So the document's now sitting pending approval. I can see that I'm logged in as a user, Michael Andrews. This user has approval rights over this document. Hence, I can see the approve, reject button at the top of the screen. Upon selecting the approve or reject buttons, it will prompt me, if it's configured that way, to put a note in about the change in status. So if I reject the document, why I might be rejecting it. So let's stop at that point and go, well, how did the actual approval map come to exist? So the approval map is sitting within MYOB Advanced. By using the search bar, I can navigate to the approval maps tab. The approval map allows me to choose the entity type. In this situation, I'm on the sales order screen, and then it allows me to name the map, the quote approval. What I can do is I can create multiple steps. This is a very simple stepped process with a single step, I should say. And within that single step, I've got one rule. So my rule here is dictating that my sales order type equals a quote. That's the condition that I must meet to approve this for this document to go through the approval process. If I add a line into here, you'll be able to see that I can change those conditions. So if I look at the sales order and I look at the amount of the sales order as an example, I can also then have is greater than, is less than, is between, and then that will kick off where it might go in the rule actions. So this allows me to put in multiple conditions based on the document I'm working with. Some conditions that I might be working with might be the type of customer in this situation, the location of the customer, or I could be working through the type of quote or the detail within the quote. I'm able to select all those conditions using my entity and my field name linked back into my entity. Underneath my rule actions within this step, I'm sending this to an employee for approval. It's an employee sitting within the manager work group. I could change this and dictate the actual specific employee, so I can go and grab an employee that sits within the manager work group. But in this example, I've only got 3 employees that are available to me. That is dictated by the 3 employees that are actually sitting within the manager work group. So once I've selected my or built my approval map out, I then link my approval map to the document. When I link my approval map to the document, I'll show you what then occurs. So I'm going to move to my sales order preferences. When I go to my sales order preferences underneath my approval area are dictating what's going to happen to an SO type equal to QT. It's going to use the sales order approval map, and it's going to send out the quote approval email to the people in that group. So my quote approval email is also configured. This is a very simple example, which I'll bring up. So let's move forward. I've now got to my notification template to see or configure my notification template. From the list of notifications, I'm able to define the quote approval notification template. Again, this is a simplistic example showing the capability that we have. So I'm linking it to a screen. I'm then popping in full HTML based, but in this case, just a simple text line to say, please approve a quote of this document number for this customer name in the amount of the total document amount. So if I go back to my sales preferences, I've done two things. I've linked through my approval map that can be quite complex in nature, taking me through multiple layers of approval. And further to that, I've linked through the approval template so that I can email that out to multiple people within the organization. So back to my approval, I can see that my document is sitting in a status pending approval. A notification's gone out to the user, and I can either see this information on my dashboard screen where I'm hovering at the moment, or under my time and expenses area, I can come in and I can see a listing of approvals. When I come into my approvals on this screen here, I can see two things. I can see approvals that are sitting directly with me, i.e. these have been sent directly to me for approval. I'm the only one that can deal with this unless I've set up a delegation of authority. Second thing I can see is my workgroup approvals. So here's my sales order. I happen to be the owner of this document. I can do two things. I can double click on this line and drill down into it, or I can just action it at the highest level. So I can go, yep, just looking at the summary, I can click on this and I can then approve that document or documents en masse. So I can use the approve all and the reject all items at the top. Note that this is available on the mobile app in a very similar way, and you can get down into the detail should you wish. That concludes my session on approvals. Reach out if you've got any other questions.